So it seems like Seattle, a city that I'm very, very familiar with, is the next city that's openly willing to waste money on tourism campaigns to try to bring Canadians back. A few weeks ago, I reported on Las Vegas spending I think it was $5 million or something like that on tourism promotions to bring back Canadians. And I'm going to share later on why I think Seattle is wasting their money. And I have another clip from a UK citizen that's living in the United States who had her first experience with a rude US citizen at a pharmacy. And I think a lot of us can relate to this, whether we were in the United States visiting their country or meeting a US citizen abroad. And last but not least, I have a video from Professor Poutine, and he explains perfectly why our quote-unquote friendship with the United States is not a two-way friendship. I would actually love to get on a call with Professor Poutine, because I actually learn a lot from his videos, like a lot of history stuff that I don't know. And it would be cool to talk to another Canadian creator. I'll see what I can do, but no guarantees. Okay, let's get into the first report out of Seattle.
For the first time since 2020, hotels in downtown Seattle reported a decline in demand last year. Hotels across the city are attributing a slight drop-off to the loss of international travelers. Couple Jackie Kent spoke with those businesses about the impact. She's live downtown tonight with what they had to say. Jackie?
Well, Preston, Hotel Andra right behind me is one that tells me a lot of Canadian visitors have canceled their trips, and the impacts really do vary from hotel to hotel. In fact, new data from the Downtown Seattle Association and Visit Seattle show 50,000 fewer people booked hotel rooms all of last year. That includes national and international visitors.
Now, for those of you watching my video for the first time, I'm actually born and raised in Vancouver, but currently living in Malaysia for work. But Seattle used to be a place that I would frequent probably once every 2 months. I wasn't always staying overnight in Seattle. I mean, sometimes it was just day trips. But sometimes when there's a holiday in Canada or British Columbia, my wife and I and our friends, we would stay down there for a few nights. And just like many Canadians watching this video right now, I'm sure many of you did the same thing as well, whether it was day trips or even spending the weekend or something like that. But this report actually brought back a memory I totally forgot about. Because later on this report, they're actually going to feature a motel. And I actually stayed at this motel decades ago. And I totally forgot about it until I saw it. But I'll tell the story later. Let's just finish the report first.
At the start of a breezy new season, Hotel Andra owner Craig Schaefer says he's concerned about another kind of change hitting Seattle.
There's some headwinds right now, as everybody knows. There are international travel, which accounts for roughly 10% of the city's business.
He sits on the Downtown Seattle Association board. The group's 2025 report card states hotel demand was down slightly. And the State Hospitality Association believes that's a citywide trend, due in part because of fewer visits from our neighbors to the north.
The revenue per available hotel room is down about 2.5%, which is close to $40 million. So it's down a big number.
You know what I don't understand is that this report first starts off by saying that this tourism board says that things are down slightly, but then the next guy says the revenue is down big time. So which is it? Is it down slightly or is it down big time? Because both of them relate together. I'm not an economics expert, but common sense would say that we listen to the revenue numbers instead.
The Seattle Chamber of Commerce adds businesses are dealing with rising operating costs and fewer international visitors, in part because of U.S. tariffs and political tensions at the federal level.
We're seeing that in travel data as well at the border, 24% less travelers coming across the border. From our perspective is we want to make sure that they know that they're welcomed.
Ugh, I really hate it when they say that. But one thing I want to point out is I'm wondering where he's getting this 24% number from. Because north of the border, we've heard different percentages. And it's been widely reported north of the border that the percentage is quite a bit higher.
It's a little depressing, and the declines are definitely consistent.
In Belltown, Travelodge General Manager Chris Tudor says the impacts have been felt for more than a year, with many Blue Jays fans last season even canceling trips. How are you hoping to reverse that trend in 2026?
Well, as we all know, FIFA is right around the corner, so we're looking very forward to that.
The Hospitality Association says it's eager for Governor Bob Ferguson to sign a bill reestablishing the state's tourism office to help give businesses a needed boost.
And we can go to work on building back our marketing for the long term.
And despite that lower number of international visitors, the DSA is reporting that foot traffic in downtown is back to pre-pandemic levels.
I love how every US report always has to end on a positive note. It starts off telling somewhat the truth and things are down, but foot traffic is up. Anyways, what I was saying earlier, that Travelodge that you just saw in the report, I stayed there many, many years ago. I think it was even before I met my wife. My friends and I went down to Seattle because we were having a weekend there and, going out to the nightclubs and stuff. And there was a lot of us. I think we had about 4 carloads of friends that went down. And we all arrived at the same time because we were following each other down on the I-5. And when we got there, we took 4 parking spots. I mean, normal, right? And I do remember now that there was this US citizen that basically said something really smart ass to us, saying that you Canadians are taking up all the parking spots. Now, just for the record, we weren't parked in any handicap or anything. It was just a regular spot. And if this person had a disability or a reason to be parking closer, I would have gladly moved my car. But that wasn't the case. I mean, this guy was a normal person. And it did get a little bit heated, and I had to remind my friend, hey, these guys got guns down here. But the reason why I wanted to tell this story is because not all US citizens welcome us back. The businesses might because they want our money, but some of the citizens don't. I actually totally forgot about this story until I saw this frame. I was like, oh shit, I remember staying here. But I thought I would bring it up anyways. I know some citizens in the US, they genuinely want us back. But there is a good share that do not want any Canadians in their country. Now, I do want to share this photo that somebody posted in my subreddit. But before I do that, I would like to give a shout out to Abigail, who sent in this photo from Hawkesbury, Ontario. You guys might not believe it, but I would actually love to walk in the snow right now. Because where I am right now, it's 33? Yeah, it's 33 degrees right now and it feels like 38. And I'm sweating my ass off. I know many people would love to be in this weather, but you know what? I'll be honest with you, it gets old really fast. But thank you for sending this over to me, Abigail. And maybe I'll go put my head in the freezer. That might remind me of the winter season. Now going back to the screenshot, someone posted this in my subreddit. It was a flight from Toronto to San Francisco. And let me zoom in on it for you so you have a better picture. It's obvious that there's a lot of empty seats, and I think I can count maybe 8, 9 people in the very back? But let me read out what the original poster said. Thanks for your comments, everyone. They are brilliant. This was UAL 565. A friend of mine was on it and sent me this photo mid-flight. He is aware I posted it. He's also sent me a photo of a lounge of a doofus who stuck his finger in the cream cheese and licked it. That's disgusting. However, this was a photo after the person had sat back down, so there's no proof. Had posted that, it would have been taken down right away. First off, to the doofus who stuck his finger in the cream cheese, you're a disgrace to humanity. But back to the flight. This looks like it's a Boeing 737. I don't know what kind of model, but I do know it's a Boeing because the overhead bins pull down instead of flapping up. But I think the average capacity of a Boeing 737 is anywhere from 180 to 200. And this right here, I mean, the plane is virtually empty. And it's not like Toronto to San Francisco is a minor route. So I want everybody to take a look at this photo and really take it in. Because our efforts to avoid the United States is stronger than ever. Now, we have plenty of reasons to avoid the United States. But I'm going to show you another reason and interaction that this woman had with a US citizen that's going to make you want to avoid the United States even more.
I've just had my first encounter of an American person being rude, which says a lot because we've been in America for 8 months now. And up until now, everybody has been so polite and kind and courteous. No rudeness at all.
Okay, I feel like I need to give my disclaimer here again. In my video here, as well as any video that I have, I want to make it clear that I'm not generalizing all US citizens together. I know there are great US citizens all over the place. I have friends and family down there. And I've met a lot of great US citizens through this channel. But unfortunately, there are a lot of your fellow citizens that are ruining it for you guys. And this UK citizen is going to give a very clear example of these people that are ruining it for you.
But today I was at the pharmacy in Walgreens and I was scheduling vaccinations for me, my husband and the children. And the pharmacist was going through our paperwork and making sure we weren't allergic to any of the vaccines. And I hear over my shoulder, "Hey, are you going to be much longer?" So I was like, yeah, there's a line, there's a queue. But anyway, I carry on going through the details with the pharmacist and then she shouts, "I'm only here for a script. What is she doing? Why is she taking so long? Is it just vaccines that she's trying to sort out?" Not that it's any of her business. The pharmacist says, "I'll get to you straight away as soon as I've sorted this lady, madam. Just please be patient." And I said to the pharmacist, "Do you want to just go ahead and serve her?" Because I could feel her pacing up and down behind me. And it was making me a bit uncomfortable. And he says, "Okay, yeah." So I stepped to one side and she comes forward. And then she turns to me and says, "Will you move out the way? This is private."
Does anyone find it funny that when the US citizen is at the counter, it becomes private? But when she's behind her waiting in line, she's all up in her face. I guess it's a case of do as I say, not as I do, right?
So I took a few more steps back. I was already a good 3 foot away, but anyway, I stepped further back and all the other customers in the store were like looking over because she was so loud. But she caught me on a good day. So I didn't react. I just stepped to one side. Who knows what this lady is going through? She's probably having a bad day.
Or it could be a regular Wednesday for her. Just saying.
But I did think you would not have done that in England or anywhere else in the UK, actually, because people do not tolerate disrespect like that. And if you spoke to somebody like that in the UK, you would get a mouthful back. Like, you would get into an argument with somebody. People do not stand for being spoken to, like, you know. So yeah, that's my first encounter of an American person being rude. I'm quite surprised at myself. I didn't really react. Maybe I'm becoming more American. I don't know.
No, you didn't react because you have manners. And the world doesn't revolve around you. But I disagree with her when she says that this person wouldn't do it anywhere else in the world. Because if they're doing it at home, they're going to do it elsewhere as well. There's a reason why the United States citizens, when they travel abroad, they have a bad reputation. And some even going as far as saying that they're Canadian instead. But with what's going on these days, I think everything's been amplified. And the rest of the world, I think, is just fed up. And I know this has been going on for decades, maybe even generations. But like I said in my previous videos, I think 2026 is really the boiling point for a lot of us. And to my US viewers who are watching this, I'm pretty sure you guys are disgusted by this behavior as well. So my message when I'm pointing out these rude US citizens isn't directed at you. But unfortunately, they are ruining your reputation. Speaking of reputation, the friendships that our country used to have, well, let's just say it's been flushed down the toilet. But Professor Poutine gives a really good example on how this friendship that we once used to have will probably never be the same ever again.
That's not how I define friendship. Professor Poutine here. Time for Mysteries Histories. Well, Lindsey Graham and the Trump administration have been on a tear this past week, just ripping France and England and Spain and Italy and Canada and Japan and Australia and the rest of NATO for not helping out in the mess that the United States and Israel have made in the Strait of Hormuz with this war against Iran. Well, a couple of things on that. Number one, as I said before on this channel, NATO is a defensive alliance. So if the United States had been attacked, NATO would be obliged to help out. Israel's not part of NATO, so that wouldn't oblige NATO. But even if NATO did get involved, NATO then takes command of that. There'd be an American general at the top, but NATO command takes charge of that operation, which I'm not really sure is what Trump or Hegseth actually wants. A bigger thing here to question is, how are you defining good friends and bad friends? Like, if your friend spent the last year and a half on social media just ripping you and threatening you and doing everything they could to disrupt your family finances, and then comes to you and says, I could really use your help, would you just turn the other cheek and go and help out? And maybe here's a better analogy. If your friend's house just spontaneously burst into flames, yeah, you'd be running over there with buckets and hoses and try and put that fire out. But if your friend sets fire to somebody else's house and then comes running through the backyards in the middle of the night and pounds on your back door at 3 a.m. and says, you gotta help me out, you're not asking for friendship at that point. You're asking us to aid and abet in the furtherance of a crime. And I know this is hard for the Trump administration to understand because the Justice Department in the US certainly doesn't get this. But friends don't commit crimes and then get to ask friends to let them get away with committing crimes. Consider yourself updated.
I really wish I could come up with analogies that were as clear as his, because mine don't usually always turn out. But he's spot on when he says we're not going to help the neighbor set fire to another neighbor's house. And to relate it to what us Canadian citizens are dealing with as well, we're not going to help the US businesses and tourism industry fix a problem that they created themselves. Now, many US businesses and people will say that I didn't vote for this, and rightfully so, you didn't. But unfortunately, your country as a whole is represented by one person and his rogue administration. So I covered quite a few things in this video. I mean, Seattle's begging for us to come back again, bad behavior by the US citizens, and, friends that were used to be friends, but we're not going to be friends with them anymore, at least for now. I know many of you are going to disagree with me when I said at least for now, because for many of us, this is like a permanent thing. But if the United States wants to gain the trust of the world back, they're going to have to earn it. But who knows, maybe that will happen. And that's why I don't fully close the door on it. But if you ask me, the chances are slim. If you found any value or agreed with anything I said, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international perspective without the US media bias, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button below. That way you're notified of my future videos. And if you want to see more of my videos, Just wait for the ones to show up on your screen shortly. Thanks, everyone. I'll catch you in the next one.